Welcome, Facebook live stream viewers. We are about to begin Light Your Way to Health and Wellness with Paula Shaw. So I see we've got a little thing. I'm going to start the recording in just a moment here, but now I'm afraid I need to end one of these because I'm also recording on an iPad, though I don't know. I think maybe it'll work. Of course, not being the techie genius here, we know. All right, we're gonna just try to record this and see what happens. Okay. Yes, it's 11:30 and it's time for Light Your Way to Health and Wellness with Paula Shaw. And I'm really pleased that you're here today because I think we're going to be talking about a very important topic that affects a lot of people. The topic I am talking about is anxiety. Anxiety is, excuse me, really one of the most difficult problems people can deal with. Because it can sneak up on you. It can be just beneath the surface, always there, a kind of free floating anxiety. Yeah, it can be very tricky. Let me give you the actual definition of anxiety. Intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situations, often including a fear of dying. So any of you who have ever dealt with anxiety know that it has many, many different kinds of manifestations. It can include shortness of breath. It can include racing heart. It can include tightness in the chest. It can include an inability to focus, a persistent ongoing worry, fear of dying, fear of some inevitable awful thing happening. That's anxiety. And as I have shared with you before, one of the reasons that I'm doing this show, Light Your Way to Health and Wellness, is because for many, many years, I have been working with light. I have been working with people's energy through the tools of energy psychology. And through those tools, we actually end up working with people's light. And, excuse me, in addition to that, for the last 4 years, I have been doing a podcast and a radio show. And I decided, let's combine the two. Let's live stream this thing. Let's record it. And let me bring to you my many, many years of study and experience. Now, many of the things we talk about on this show, certain products or other things, I will bring experts on to talk to you about those things because they may not be my area of expertise. And we will be interviewing, as we have on this show already, interviewing other people. But today I want to talk about anxiety because this is one I know inside and out. I have worked with many people who are dealing with anxiety. And I know what an all-pervasive problem it can be. So one of my favorite first lines of defense when it comes to anxiety is to encourage people. Well, first of all, let me back up for a second. Let's talk about anxiety and where it comes from. Obviously, anxiety lives in the future, right? Because it's projecting a negative outcome into the future that creates anxiety. And if you're very visual, and many people are, and the brain loves visual, loves pictures, your brain can actually believe you're experiencing this doom and gloom, horrible thing that you're fearing that lives actually out in the future. If you focus on it enough with enough clarity, your brain will believe it's happening. So that's one of the reasons why I really want to encourage you not to engage those fearful thoughts. Don't jump out there into that world of anxiety, that world of possible maybe things that might happen and that might become frightening in your life and in your world. So the first tip I have for you, the first tool that I love to suggest to any of my clients dealing with anxiety is anxiety is kind of based on what if, right? What if I get coronavirus? What if I can't pay the bills next month? What if someone I love dies from the virus? So you see, those are all very anxiety producing thoughts, and they all live out here, unless in your reality right now, someone that you love has the virus or you can't pay the bills or those kinds of things. And yet, even still, it's probably not happening in this moment. It's still a little bit out into the future. So the first thing you want to do is take all those what ifs and then turn them into what is, because that will bring you back into the moment and you'll see reality. So, for example, I could say, well, what if I have no money for food next month? Okay, now look at what is. What is, my cupboards are full and there is money in the bank. What if I lose my job? Okay, let's turn that into what is. Today, right now, I have a job. And it may be slow because of the current pandemic, but I have a job. So do you see how when we get out in the future, it gets scary and it gets frenetic? But if we can just harness it back in to the present moment, then we can find a way to calm down and we get out of our right emotional brain. And now we're able to access the left brain, which is logical, linear, and problem solving. So then we can do more to actually change our circumstances once we get out of that anxious, frenetic state. Now, there are some very physical symptoms that can be produced by anxiety, and they're scary for people. They're very scary for people. Some of them are shortness of breath, tightness in the chest, dizziness, nausea. Some people fear that they're either having a heart attack or they're about to pass out. There are many very, very physical symptoms that can happen to people when they get anxious. So what I also want to share with you today are some modalities you can use, excuse me, to help calm the physical body. Now, before we get to those, I want to first say that it's very important if you're dealing with anxiety, it's very important to be sure you have a balanced diet and include probiotics and fermented food that can just really help to keep the body stable. Limit caffeine, because we know caffeine can have the tendency to make you anxious and jittery anyway. So limit that caffeine, and also limit alcohol, because we know that sometimes alcohol is an amplifier. Same thing can be true of cannabis. For some people, that might be calming. For other people, it amplifies what's already there. And if what's already there is fear or this feeling of doom and gloom, alcohol, cannabis, those kinds of substances may just exacerbate the problem. Okay, exercise. This is a beautiful way to help yourself through anxiety. And vigorous exercise, even better. Running, kickboxing, doing something where you're really moving your body, throwing punches, that kind of thing can be very, very helpful. And maybe not just jogging, but full out running. So you're really using up a lot of this energy that the body has built up in here that's causing you to feel this discomfort. Then, once you have made sure all those pieces are in place, then quieting processes can be very valuable. That's when I would encourage meditation, yoga, prayer. If you have a book of wisdom that you love, whether it's the Bible or whether it's some other daily reading type of book of wisdom, that would be a beautiful way to start your day. A nice practice that's calming, and perhaps accompany that with calming music. Now we're really getting our energy. Remember, what I'm all about and what this show is all about is working with your light, working with your energy. And that's what we're trying to do. There are times in our lives when drugs are necessary and drugs can be very valuable. But for the most part, especially with chronic conditions like anxiety might be, let's try as much as possible to do what we can do naturally, so we don't find ourselves hooked on Xanax or hooked on some drug that comes with as many problems as it may cure. So now I want to talk to you about some quieting processes, things to calm the body and calm the mind, because that's what happens. The body and the mind become a runaway train, don't they? They become a runaway train, and this train is on a track that's going nowhere. So we want to get hold of ourselves. We want to slip ourselves out of that total right brain emotional state and move to a place where we can now get our left brain activated, because that's where the solutions are going to come from. The problem solving comes from that part of the brain. So the first quieting process I want to share is one of my favorites. I call it square breathing. And square breathing is simply counting in to the count of 4 or 6 if you're a very deep breather, holding for the count of 4 or 6, releasing to that same count, then hold out for that count. So it looks something like this. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Release, 2, 3, 4. Hold out, 2, 3, 4. And in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Release, 2, 3, 4. Hold out, 2, 3, 4. I hope you were doing that with me so you could get a sense of how it really calms. It accomplishes 2 important things. It takes your mind off whatever it is that's making you anxious. And it also brings oxygen to the brain, because many of the painful or scary symptoms of anxiety are actually a result of a deficit of oxygen to the brain. So square breathing is one of my favorites because it's effective on so many levels. There is another process that I really love called balanced breathing. Now, you can't see my feet, but balanced breathing just requires that you sit in a chair comfortably, cross your ankles, not your knees. Remember, when we cross our ankles, we kind of close the energy circle. But when we cross our knees, we actually constrict energy. So better to just cross the ankles. So cross your ankles And then there's two things you can do with your hands. You can just cross them like this on the chest, which is the simplest thing to do. Some people like to reach out, put the palms together, interlace the fingers, and then bring the hands up here. This is done in yoga practices, and it works very, very nicely for balanced breathing. But if for any reason you have any joint problems or you don't find this position here with your hands like this comfortable, this is just fine. Now, sitting in this position, which by the way is as close as we humans can get to resembling a figure eight. And the natural way that energy flows is like the figure eight or the infinity sign when it's flowing the way we want it to. When we're anxious, it could be all over the place. So now what we're going to do sitting in this position is breathe in through the nose with the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, just behind the teeth. So we breathe in. And now we release from the mouth and rest the tongue back down on the floor of the mouth. And in, tongue on the roof of the mouth. And release, tongue on the floor of the mouth. Now, when we put our tongue on the roof of the mouth, it completes the circuitry of the conception meridian and the governor vessel, two major meridians or flows of energy in our body. And just letting that happen, letting it flow, breathing in through the nose, tongue on the roof of the mouth, out through the mouth, tongue on the floor of the mouth. You sit and do that for even 3 minutes, you're going to notice a very, very calming effect. And sometimes I sit and do that through my whole meditation of 20 minutes or more. And then I find myself feeling very, very mellow and very, very balanced. Now, I'm just checking my time here to make sure that we're still good. I don't want to overload you, and we will discuss anxiety again in another show, but I would like to show you one other wonderful calming method that works again, because remember, we're always putting energy out of our body. Energy is always exuding from us. You know, that creates our biofield, our energy field. Well, we're always putting energy out of our fingertips and our palm chakras. So when we put our hands in certain places, like when we're doing this, we're making energetic contact actually. So it's very powerful to be doing this. When we make this energetic contact, we are also impacting the meridians of the body, the energy circuitry of the body. So the last method I want to show you is called the Occipital Hold. Some people call it the head healing hold, but one hand goes across the forehead, and now we're making contact with these neurovascular points here that are very powerful. So one hand goes here and the other goes at the base of the skull. And I like to close my eyes when I do this and just focus on feeling balanced, centered. It's really great to do this like sitting back in a chair or on the sofa, so you can just relax and let your arms rest into the cushion. But just imagine there's a magnet in the center of your being, and you're calling back all the parts of you that are scattered out there in the world, or in your fears, or with your family, wherever those parts of you are. Call them back as you breathe evenly and easily and hold these points. Just imagine that the mothership is bringing all the parts of you home with ease and grace. And that's how simple it is. That's the occipital hold. So again, these methods can help to calm that racing heart, ease the breath, take away that feeling of shakiness or that fear. We want to bring the energy of the body into alignment with peace and harmony. Remember, a huge percentage of the things you ever worry about, and there's an actual statistic on this. I want to say like 98, but I don't want to say for sure because I didn't look it up today. But a huge percentage of the things you worry about never happen. Isn't that something? They never happen. So why bring them into your consciousness today? All the masters who have ever lived on the earth and taught us all the wisdom that they did bring have all had one belief in common, that now is the moment. Only in this moment, right here, right now, are we alive. Yesterday is gone, and tomorrow hasn't happened yet. And if you're going to project anything into tomorrow, let it be something joyful and wonderful. Let it be unforeseen money, or a new fabulous job, or your child accomplishing that thing they've been working so hard at. Project that into your future and let's see what happens, because thoughts do also have power. So the lesson of the day today, anxiety lives in a future that, by the way, we create. So that means we have some control over what that future looks like. So create one that's harmonious. Create one that's where you want to go. Harness your thoughts in and consciously focus them on something that will create joy, that will create a sense of positivity. That is going to do so much more for your body, for your mind, for your emotions than anything else, And I want to end today because I did say when we first started this show, I would also be sharing some of my favorite products. And I can't talk about anxiety without talking about this. And this product we mentioned on one of our other shows. I don't know if you can all see that. It's called Eon. It's one of those phototherapy patches I've mentioned before that use no drugs or chemicals to create a variety of different states within the body. And this one creates calm. It's anti-stress and anti-inflammatory. It's a beauty. I use it every night. It helps me sleep like a baby. And if I should start feeling anxious about things, and of course I do, we all do from time to time, I just put one of these on the back of my neck. It has no problem in terms of interacting with any other meds a person might be on. It's just organic nanocrystals that are programmed to take certain messages to your nervous system and then have your body perform a certain function. It's amazing. So if you want to know more about that, you're welcome to private message me or go to my website, lifewave.com/safe health. And by the way, one of the other things that people can experience as a result of anxiety is fatigue. Some people are just wiped out. They can hardly function. And in that case, then you want to do some energy enhancing exercise. You want to be sure that you're not wiping yourself out with too much caffeine, because remember, caffeine will spike and then you'll plunge. So not too much caffeine again. And LifeWave also makes a patch called Energy Enhancer that I adore. I always use this patch when I'm going to do my radio show or doing these kinds of shows, because I want my energy to be at the highest level it can be so that I can bring the best of me to you. And again, information on that patch too is at lifewave.com/safe health. That's lifewave.com/safe health. All right, guys. So that's my health tips for today in dealing with anxiety. Please work with some of these tools. And next week, we'll be looking at some other tools as well, because there are so many ways to calm the body. I didn't want to overwhelm you with too many today. Oh, I'm going to give you one more. This is just so easy and it's so lovely. It's called the butterfly hug. And you just cross your hands right here across your upper chest. And then you just, one at a time, wiggle your hands or tap your chest, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and just close your eyes and breathe. And do that for about 3 minutes, and you'll be amazed at how much calmer you'll feel. So that's what I'm going to leave you with: butterfly hugs and butterfly kisses. I hope you all have a beautiful remainder of the week. Use these tools, try them. Go back and watch this again and write them down so you've got them at the ready when you need them. All right. I'm delighted to have spent this time with you, and I look forward to seeing you again on Light Your Way to Health and Wellness with Paula Shaw next week. Until then, breathe deeply, love yourself, take good care of yourself, and we'll see you soon.